Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the High Soapbox, Episode 3. Today, I have the lovely pleasure of being joined by Tyler fucking Wilson. So, Tyler here is, and just for anybody listening wanting to hear anything about politics or work ethic or business or all these other different things or the raggedy shit we were talking about last week with Miss Mariah Utley. This is going to be probably it is going to be a very nerd-heavy podcast because Ty here has played every single MMO worth playing that was made in the past 10, 15 years. And I just wanted to have a geek out week. So, Ty, welcome to the show. How you doing?
Thank you. I'm doing very well right now, actually. Thank you for having me on.
Yeah, it's good to have you on. Ty's been a good friend of mine for about 2-3 years at this point.
I believe so. I think it was after my first semester of college when we met.
Right, but let's be real. You have the most appropriate description of me anybody's ever said, which is I'm like a cactus. I'm prickly on the outside and soft and squishy on the inside. And you're like I rubbed you the wrong way when we first met, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, you kind of were an ass at first.
I mean that's my default setting.
Well, yeah.
You just learn to live with it and love me through it, or punch me in the mouth and move on. But I digress. So let's start with your gaming history. Where did you start first playing games?
Honestly, this is gonna be a little bit of a funny for anyone who knows who grew up during the time of like Barney and stuff, and like that type of the word that spread around about Barney back in the day. But honestly, it was a Sega game, and it was called Barney Hide and Seek, where you played as Barney trying to find little kids.
Oh, that's not creepy at all.
Yeah, I know, right? That's what I'm talking about. And that's where I kind of started. Sonic the Hedgehog, of course, played a big role in my life with getting into gaming. I wouldn't really have considered myself a gamer actually until about, I think, 2008 when Mass Effect came out, though. That's, I think, what solidified me as like a gamer. I used to play a lot of games when I was a kid, but I did not become a gamer till like I played Mass Effect.
Well, the term gamer is interesting because what a gamer is somebody who is very enthusiastic about games as a hobby. But we don't call people who like music musicers or movieers, and I've always just found the term gamer to be interesting. We own it, but I mean, it's always been the underlying tones of its existence have been very haven't been positive unless we made it positive, which we did. So you you played Mass Effect, and I know you were the biggest BioWare fanboy on the face of the earth. And so outside of the Mass Effect franchise, what else did you play after that? Like what was your first foray into the MMORPG genres?
My
EverQuest, WoW.
It was Star Wars Galaxies. I originally played WoW when it first came out, but I just wasn't into it. Plus, $15 a month as a kid, that was a little difficult for me.
Ask.
Yeah, that was a little rough for me to ask. My parents were heavily against video games at the time. They were one of the ones who thought it like caused violence and stuff.
Yeah, I don't know about you, but I played Doom. I've played lots of violent video games, and I've never thought about doing harm to another person just as a result of that.
Yeah, but
it's weird.
Yeah, but no, it was surprisingly SWG, and if I remember correctly, I think it also had a subscription base, but it was worth it because it was Star Wars, and I kind of lied through my teeth saying it was very PG. I can't remember, though, with SWG if it was actually subscription based, because it was so long ago that I played it.
Right. So you're the only person I know who's able to sort of effectively juggle social lives in 3 different MMOs at once. You did that for like what, a solid 3-4 months, i.e., SWTOR, WoW, and Elder Scrolls Online.
Yeah. Yes,
Yeah.
I did.
On top of working 30 hours a week.
Yes, I was working 30 hours a week at
on
the time.
On top of being a full-time student.
Yes.
So given some of your grades, I'm guessing your sleeping time was in class.
Not really. I don't sleep a lot in class, surprisingly, even though I want to a majority of the time.
Right. Well, I mean, once you have to pay for the class yourself, you're a little more alert.
Oh, fuck yeah.
Oh, damn it. Shoot, man. But, so for those who don't know, I'm an avid ESO player, Elder Scrolls Online player, and Ty has been on a bit of an ESO stint. He's one of those RPers, role players. Granted, I will say that the RP community in ESO is significantly more tolerable than the WoW community's RP scene, which I hear horror stories about.
Yeah.
That bad, huh?
Very much so. Not to talk shit because, given people know me from there, I rather not go into too much detail. But it's on a downcline definitely because Battle for Azeroth was not a popular expansion. Surprisingly, a lot of people are actually coming to ESO from WoW because it's the closest thing that they can get to it that's good. Because just a lot of people are unhappy with Battle for Azeroth. From what I have seen from the people who I've talked to.
I mean that makes sense. I've been seeing a lot of WoW refugees in the Elder Scrolls Online space and carrying and just like one of the things that like Elder Scrolls Online has its elitist groups, but most of the time when you do a vet dungeon and you say, "Hey, this is my first time doing this vet dungeon," like 9 times out of 10, if you've got competent people with you, they'll stick around and guide you through it, especially if you're learning to be a tank or a healer, because there's never enough tanks or healers. Now, DPSs, on the other hand, we tend to be a little screwed, to be quite frank. But it is what it is. In your opinion, in terms of dungeon design, what MMO has the best dungeons? And when I say dungeons, I mean dungeons. I don't mean raids or trials. Because I would say looking at some of the trial designs of the WoW years of yore, some of those trials just look fantastic in terms of quest design and dungeon design. But what has the best designed dungeons in terms of fun?
If you want to talk about fun, well,
I'm talking about across all MMOs you've played.
All MMOs I've played.
Final Fantasy Online, Final Fantasy 15, all of them.
Well, it's technically
not 14. I mean, that's what it was. That's what it was.
Yeah. If you want a challenge, I definitely recommend Final Fantasy 14 because Final Fantasy 14 has a very, very competitive dungeon system.
Last I checked, it was all about the dungeons.
It was. It's part of it's intertwined into the story too. You have to do the dungeons. It's very dungeon heavy. You have to even just to do a veteran. Unlike a lot of these other MMOs, you do not really need a rotation to get through the dungeon. You can half-ass it, and that's perfectly fine to get through it. With Final Fantasy, it's hard modes and stuff. You need to know the rotation, or else your party's going to wipe. From my experience, that is. WoW, the epic factor, yes, WoW dungeons are fucking epic as shit, in my opinion. But really
I would say personally, ESO. I would say that ESO probably has the most approachable dungeons.
ESO definitely has a. They're convenient dungeons because they're easy to get into, and their mechanics aren't so as difficult from what I have played.
Granted, granted, each DLC dungeon that comes out adds more and more bullshit to it. Like if you take Moonhunter Keep and the March of Sacrifices, like especially Moonhunter Keep, which is just a fucking maze with some bullshit boss mechanics. But even then, like if you're on veteran with a group that has high enough DPS and heals, you're fine. I think where ESO really does separate between the haves and have-nots is hard mode difficulties.
Yes, but to continue what I was saying about ESO, ESO definitely has a very convenient dungeon system, as in a lot of them you can run through pretty fast. I know for me, when you don't have a lot of time and stuff, and you're managing guilds and stuff like that, you don't really have a lot of time. So, just jumping in and getting done a dungeon within like 5 minutes is so convenient, and you get so much XP from it. So it just makes it easier to level and stuff like that.
What about from a combat perspective? What do you feel? Which game do you feel has the most organic combat in terms of like you can play kind of how you want as long as the result is high DPS or high heals or high tanking?
ESO definitely. When it comes to why, because it has the action combat system. Because with action combat, you can roll, dodge, and stuff like that. Different people have different preferences. I personally don't prefer the tab targeting. You have like 50 abilities, because that's a lot to keep track of and stuff like that. I've done it in the past, but
isn't that in WoW where you just have the entire bottom of your screen is like all your abilities you can click?
They definitely crunched it down, but then I'm not like a super veteran WoW player. But from what I understand is they did crunch it down a little more. It's still a lot for me, personally, because when you're say like PvPing and stuff like that, and you got to pay attention to a lot of stuff, it can be a little difficult. Yeah, overwhelming. At least for me, that is. But with ESO, it's just easier because I just have to left click to attack, and then just hit my 5 abilities.
So as combat aside, let's consider storytelling. I think I played Guild Wars, and I played Guild Wars 2, and I think when ESO was created, and honestly, I haven't played a lot of MMOs outside of a little bit of Guild Wars, a little bit of EverQuest, lots of ESO. Mainly because I'm an Elder Scrolls junkie. But you being somebody who's played a lot of them, from a storytelling perspective, not necessarily the quests in ESO and all MMOs can be a little repetitive, and even ESO has cases where it's like, oh, this is you got to go kill these things to get this item to unlock access to this boss in this area, except instead of killing zombies, you're killing skeletons this time. It's kind of like bullshit like that. But which game tells like the best overarching story, whether it's across the base game or across multiple expansions or things like that?
Well, that again, it all comes down to preference and stuff. If you want a weeb experience, definitely fucking Final Fantasy. Some people say don't like the story, but I personally do enjoy the story. I think it's really nice. They definitely, it's Square Enix doing the Square Enix thing where they find out you like a character, they're gonna kill it, because that's just Square Enix for you. But when it comes down to story, honestly, until the Knights of the Eternal Empire stuff, SWTOR has the best single player type of story you can get in an MMO, because one, it's a BioWare game. And 2, It has probably two of my favorite stories in any MMO, and that is the Smuggler and the Imperial Agent story. Because
Go into detail of what those are.
So the Smuggler story is basically Han Solo's story. You are a nope, there goes a ring down.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just Mariah. It's fine.
Okay. All right. But
Continue.
yeah, it's a the Smuggler story is you can't really take it all that seriously. There's a lot of jokes in it. It's cool because you get the Ebon Hawk from KOTOR as your ship. That's a cool little Easter egg there. You get it's basically a parody. Basically, like there was a lot of scenes where I laughed. Where like there was this one I remember where this chick was stuck in who wanted you dead, and you're on this ship and you're like trying to I can't remember the full premise of it, but like she has this ray shield and she's just like, oh, you can't get to me, and then the ray shield shuts off and she's just like, oh, poo. And I'm just sitting there, and I was like, all right, that's pretty good. But yeah, Smuggler's story is hilarious. Then you have the Imperial Agent story, where it is so amazing because it is I think the only story from what I can remember where you can truly defy the Sith and the Empire within SWTOR. There, like a lot of it. To me, it was the most story where choices actually do affect the outcome. Like I remember there was, if you killed this certain Jedi, it would affect one of the endings for the vanilla story. If you kept him alive, you could actually choose to either be loyal to the Sith, go your own way, or act as a double agent for the Republic. That gave you 3 different choices for the vanilla story ending. And that actually, unlike all the other stories from what I have played, and I played a lot of them except Trooper, that choice of being a double agent actually carries over to a future expansion, which is it's a small little detail though, but I like small details, and it's like after your agent defeats Revan, you're kind of just sitting off in the background. You get this little extra cutscene where the after you get made the Sith intelligence commander, you're kind of just sitting there, and the Imperial agent calls up the this Jedi, the Jedi from before I mentioned, and he goes, Master Jedi, this, I have some stuff to tell you. So I thought that was a cool little, extra detail they went in with that choice.
Interesting. So you, given how most MMO guild, what I remember, I was trying to start a guild in Elder Scrolls Online for a time, and then you gave me, and you told me, and then like you basically like warned me against it. What was it you said that about managing a guild?
When you manage a guild, it is a lot of work. Unless you can get a crew together that's basically, unless it depends on what you want to do. If you want to do big, I'm talking about, let's say 20 to 40 active players, and no matter, depending on what type of guild it is, if it's PvP or PvE or RP, it all depends. With PvP, it is very stressful because it's like you have to be sure everyone knows what the fuck they know what they're doing, basically. You don't, because PvP guilds compete to be the best. That is what they want to do. That is what they dream of. From my experience, that is. And that can be difficult to manage because it's very expensive, especially in a game like ESO where you can set up your build at any way, but then one patch, you have to spend millions of gold to fix that. So you have to invest a lot into getting gold to make sure your team is the best and well built. PvE, it's kind of the same thing. There's a lot of gold that goes into it because you want to do those raids. You want to do that world first. So you need to have the best type of people. You need to work hard and and learn mechanics. You need to study a lot because you want to get these mechanics down. You want everyone to know these mechanics so you can get that world first.
And hope you don't have to get. And hope you have enough to do it from the jump and not have a pug.
Yes, exactly.
And then for anybody listening who doesn't know what a pug is, pug stands for pick up group, which means we just you put out in a zone in chat in the world chat where everybody's able to see. Hey, we're going to do X trial or X raid. If you want in, make sure you have X, Y, and Z requirements, and we'll send you an invite.
Yes. But now we get down to the one I'm most familiar with, and for the crowd, I am not as familiar with PvE guilds or PvP guilds, where I have not been in them in a while, but with the RP guilds, it requires, depending on how many people you have, if we're talking about you have an active guild of 40 people.
Right. Well, also, I let me state this for the record. I have seen you more upset about shit that happened in a bullshit RP guild than shit that's upsetted you in real life. Like, so, and from what I've seen from people who run other guilds I'm a part of, whether it's a merchant guild, whether it's a PvE guild, whether it's a PvP guild, honestly, you're managing an RP guild I would wager, requires a lot more effort than simple logistics.
I was about to get to that.
Yeah, my bad. I didn't mean to.
But anyway, no, the things I come to you about are things I'm just venting about. That's the bad things. I don't really talk about a lot of the good things because, you do get to forge your own adventures and stuff like that. You do get to entertain because,
I mean, the world that ZeniMax built in Elder Scrolls Online is... I mean, it feels alive for what it is. It's like a lot of MMOs the worlds don't feel alive, but NPCs have tracks like random. You come across random shit in the world. It that makes you think, oh, that's nice. They didn't have to put little encounters and stuff that happen off the side. It makes it feel, it makes it feel like when you shut off the game, the world is still there at the end of the day, which is the hallmark of a great RPG in the first place.
Yes.
So for when it comes to RP things, I would guess that those little things like that definitely do help from an immersion perspective.
Yes. No, to continue what I was saying. Another benefit of RP and stuff is, whereas with PvE guilds, you eventually run out of content. We all know that there are people who will spend a day, basically that's all they're doing is doing all the content, and then boom, they're done. You have the PvPers, it's PvP. Depending on how you handle it, it like change things up a little bit here and there. You can keep that crowd, but eventually you only have one type of content at that point.
Right. BGs help.
Oh yeah,
Battlegrounds help.
Yeah.
But
and the changing of specs and stuff, that does, help people, play the game more because they're trying to get the best build. So, with build changes and stuff, they have to regrind and stuff like that.
But I will also concede that with the on the PvE side, with the current meta of just tanky Dragon Knights, tanky Necros, and tanky Wardens, just tanky. If you're not able to be a tanky character, it's kind of sucks. And I mean, I will admit, for me being a Nightblade, I like the Magicka side of it, and the only Nightblades that are effective are people who are able to stealthy shlama around, kill you with a single bow shot or two, and then right off into the sunset like you weren't even a thought.
Yes. Now,
it ain't fun. It isn't fun to play that way. But I will say that with ESO, from other MMOs I've played, you're able to play veteran level content without having BIS gear. You're not required to have best in slot gear necessarily.
Yes. Now, with the RP side of things, again, you get to create your own adventure. And I've not said the good things about it. Like, I remember there was this one time when me and my best friend, for example, we got into a little bit of a confrontation and with this person, and it ended up with our characters nearly getting blown up. It was fucking amazing. It was great. It was a little dramatic, but at the end, everything worked out, and it was fun. Like that's what I live for. Another example is an old guild I was in. A person killed off their character. It was emotional. It was great for character development. If you are a writer, I highly recommend it because it kind of teaches you how to write characters in a way. That's where I learned a lot about my writing and stuff. And as for the downside, now as for what the responsibilities of running an RP guild is, there is a lot of, and this is the reason why it's so stressful, is because there is a lot of politics involved. It is a lot because,
which is part of the reason why I don't really enjoy partaking in RP stuff. And now, don't get me wrong, the guild you're currently a part of, everybody I've seen is pretty cool to hang with. It's jokey, laughy, fun. But also, this is also the best guild you've been a part of yet.
Yes, that's because we've been very careful with who we select. Right. But.
Right. And I mean, I think the only reason I got selected to be a part of the guild was simply just because I'm not an RPer. I'm just a happy-go-lucky shit poster like the rest of the people that doesn't get into the politics of things.
Yes. Now, having said that, because it's if you look at sociology, for example, guilds are basically, what they come down to is tribalism. That's where the politics comes into play. Like, it comes down to, oh, you're not one of us, so you're different, so or stuff like that. We have this belief, but we have this belief and stuff like that. It's all different politics. And here's the thing: there is no rule of law within an RP community. You can try to do that. You could try to make an RP community, but at the end of the day, it will always fail because I've seen it through, especially Guild Wars 2. It is always corrupted. It is always full of hypocrites and stuff like that. So I honestly am against player-run governments because of that. Because they just don't work. Because they always get corrupted. They always have the in-group and then the out-group.
Right. So it's with small groups. I'm an advocate of, like, my thing is totalitarianism works only in small groups of people. The more people that are in that system, the less efficient it works. So yes. What I mean by that is, when I ran a club back in high school, I ran it basically kind of like Vladimir Putin's Russia. I ran it like as a democracy on the surface, with all the power really being in my hands in the end. And we had the largest turnout week by week of people. We had the most dedicated people, but the thing is as groups of people grow, ideas that are kind of on the same path, but they want to do it a different way. Like, the more people you add, the more people have different branching paths, and that's how you get people who, like, at the end of the day, every American cares about our country. If you're an American, you care about our country. But we all have different opinions on how our country should be run. And that's where democracy comes in. So, like, you can't, when you have a group of 30 people, I like that, like 30 people, there aren't enough branches where people should be. First off, the person leading shouldn't be a power, like, an asshole with a god complex. First off, You know, and secondly, the person should also should only like step in when actually necessary. People will sort their shit out normally and only ask if when there's if you really can't figure it out, call me. But you don't want to call me, you know, because somebody's getting their ass ganked in a PvP duel, you know.
Yes.
So,
command structure, especially in an RP guild, depending on what you're doing, is very important because
it should be less like the executive branch and like the Senate with the vice president.
That's it's in a lot of and you know, I was kind of laughing at the Godplex thing because a lot of people assign people roles not based off merit, not based off the work or showing they can do.
Well, well, let's be real. That's part of the reason why GameStop's failing in the first place.
Yeah,
but that's a whole other conversation.
Yeah, but it's a lot of the times, and I've been a victim of this too, and which is why I don't like this. And because I am technically, I think, third in command of the guild I am in, but basically what I do when I look at people who want to join the council and stuff for my guild is can they do it? Not if I get along with them, because if I have a yes man, I don't want a yes man. I want somebody who's going to disagree with me.
Yes men are part of the reason all these rappers are in prison.
Yes. I don't want yes men. If I was to make a guild, I would not want yes men. I would want people with different ideas because
I would be more than happy. And that's the same kind of thing I think with my business. I want to work with people who are competent. I routinely talk with people that I completely disagree with on an emotional level, on a political level, on a religious level, everything. But I still associate with them and I still work with them because they get the fucking job done.
Yes.
It's part of the reason why I didn't even push building my guild up. I got some members, I got a couple of frequent people, but I just passed it off to somebody else because I already run a business. I don't need to put the same amount of time into running an online business in a virtual world that I am not getting paid for.
Exactly. And honestly, my best friend, she says it best. It's like running a guild is basically running a business.
You'd be better, honestly, with your logistics skills. You would be much better off just starting your own business. Like, for real. Like, I'm not even joking.
I've been told that.
Legit. Think about it. Like, if you're able to logistically, you could put on a freaking resume saying, I've handled the logistics of organizations with 100+ members. You don't have to say where it's from, but you can put that in your other skills.
That is true. However, they're going to ask where is that from, and the moment I come out I run a Discord server or a guild with the X amount of people, they're just going to be like, oh, what?
You know what you call it?
What?
You run a digital space. You run a digital community. You run a digital community for the owners of said. You make it sound as legit as possible.
That is true.
You know, because those skills, while when you word it as I ran a guild in World of Warcraft, it doesn't sound good. But the skills gained from that are no less relevant. You know, if you know how to do conflict resolution, you know how to solve problems with two people, you know how to keep information in and out of the loop as necessary, and you're able to bounce all these things and multitask logistically. Those are very valuable things. You know, something like that, something like that could be put on a resume. You don't even have to just showing that you can handle logistics is it's all about wordplay. The English we have the benefit of the English language is it doesn't have absolutes in the way that things like Spanish or some indigenous languages have, where you always have a certain sense of direction where words mean what they mean. With English, you're able to let people think what they want to think without ever. I mean, prime example, the word guaranteed?
Yes.
That word has no legal definition in law. So when a business says money back guarantee, they don't have to fucking do it.
Well, yeah.
Exactly. They could get sued, but they said it was a guarantee. They says, well, we have there's no legal definition for that word. It's just a word. So, yeah. Which is yeah. So like genuinely, dude, I honestly like you could one of these days you and I are gonna sit down off mic and just work out what your knowledge, your skills, your things aside from the tech stuff. Because for those who don't know, Tyler is a very tech heavy guy like yours truly. But my thing is, you have a lot. I would wager you have a lot of skills that you just don't talk about that you and I need to flesh out. Something that you can market, something you can build. Because how old are you? 24?
Yeah, I'm like 24.
Yeah, dude. Like, if you started working on your business now and going whole hog into it, like, I mean, look what I've done in about 2 years. I've got a merch store up. I've got 2 contracts where I'm able to pay my bills with those contracts. I've got a YouTube channel. I've got a podcast. Like, you could overnight get started doing this and start podcasting yourself. I'd be more than happy to help you set up your own podcast as long as you're consistent. I'm happy to show you all the tools. You're my boy. I'm more than happy to help you with all this. And by the way, folks, I apologize. I thought we were going to just be nerdy this entire time, but we devolved into business speak again.
I mean, that's just how these usually go. So, all right. So, if you just want to ask another question,
thank you for getting me back on track.
Yeah, no problem.
So, what's your? So, to go back into the realm of shit posting for a bit, what's your opinions on the Area 51 thing?
Oh my God. So you know what? You said you talk about the politics on here, right?
I can.
Okay. Well,
Oh, before you go. Before we start, for anybody who is going to go raid Area 51, the High Media Marketplace, our merch store, the brand Trollolol sells a "I'ma yeet myself at Area 51, how about you?" with an alien face on it. So if you go to HIMediaMarketplace.com/products/ I'ma IMA -yeet -myself -area -51 -HBU -unisex -T, that's where you can get this lovely shirt. And while it does come in the iconic alien neon green, it comes in a variety of other colors for your pleasure as well. It fits both men and women, and comes from small to 5X for the little boys and the big boys. As you were saying, plug over.
Well, I actually was talking to a guild member of mine who's actually in the military and stuff, and he said it like this. He said,
I was hanging with my big brother the other night, and he was like, he had to go to one of those too as a Marine.
Yeah, let's stay on track here, dude.
Yeah.
But anyway, so this is what he said. He said, "Listen, you have a bunch of Air Force guys there who think, yes, I'm going to go in and do grunt work, and it turns out they just get posted there and do nothing. They have been waiting for this. They're going to gun down those people because technically that is a top secret facility. Like, there are signs everywhere. You can't blame the government for doing such a thing. Like, it's atrocious, but at the end of the day,
they knew what they were getting into.
Yeah, they knew what they were getting into. And here's the thing. I don't think the 2 million who signed up are going to show. I think it's going to be like, because I was talking to the military guy. He said He said, most likely what's going to happen is either one of them's going to be some crazy redneck who brings a shotgun and tries to light shit up. Either that it's just going to be kind of like a protest or something, or it's going to be a protest, people are going to get rough, and then the MPs are going to come out and basically with handcuffs. But for 2 million people to run towards the base, it's not going to happen because
it's also 15 miles of desert.
Yes. It's, if anything, I am expecting maybe 1,000 people. And even if that, nothing's going to happen because they're going to realize maybe we shouldn't do this. Because here's the thing, you can sign up to pledge to something, but actually acting on it is a whole nother thing. And this is a fucking meme that was made by a bunch of Naruto fans who say we're gonna Naruto run into the fucking military.
My favorite fucking part of this is that a grown ass man had to walk into a general's office and explain straight face what a Naruto run was to a 75-year-old man. Who probably has seen his best friend die like in a bomb right next to him, has gotten shot 50 times, knows what happened to Biggie and Tupac, everything. You know, it's like they got to tell this man what the hell a weeaboo Naruto run is.
Yeah, and here's the thing: I'm a weeaboo myself. I have Goblin Slayer. I have Bongo Cat Goblin Slayer as my avatar. But you know, it's like
Can confirm.
Yeah. So it's like, you know, it's like, and I was part of that community. I was such a hardcore Naruto fan, and like just
What's your opinion on Boruto?
It sucks.
I just a tangent real quick.
The manga is fucking phenomenal, but the fucking anime is trash.
Right. I mean, I will say I do like the fact that they're not just hyper focused on the protagonist. That the other characters get some sort of development, even if Chocho's just a thought.
Yeah, the thing is what a lot of the people have been saying in the community, the silent majority, a lot of them have been saying that the reason why they don't like it is because it's too slice of life. What was Naruto originally? It was a shonen.
Yeah, and you know what? I kind of, all honesty, if I got a slice of life thing with the original Naruto characters and like the lead up to like them starting their lives and stuff, we'd be having a whole different conversation. I have zero attachment to these brats.
I honestly think Naruto would not have been successful if it was slice of life.
I agree. No. I completely agree. But I'm talking about if they did slice of life from like after the last Naruto movie, and they just did like a sort of slice of life test with like them starting their lives and you know, like, and this is after like all of it. Yeah, they have some actiony shit in there, but that's like leaned off a little bit, and they focus more on like the dynamics between the characters. Like it's capitalizing on like kind of what the original Naruto was missing, which is that slice of life bit with a little bit of action sprinkled in now and again. You know, it's like if they wrote good filler episodes. Basically.
Yeah. And actually one of the reasons why, and I swear if you have any anime fans on your podcast, they're going to probably chastise me for saying this, but it's the reason why I've been saying you should really catch up on the Black Clover manga, because
it's done some Dragon Ball Z shit where it's gone like out of where the fuck did this come from?
No, it is doing Naruto shit, but actually good. Like
if the main character isn't the sole focus.
Hold on, no. Do you know the war arc and how everyone hates on it?
Well, I mean, in the manga, it wasn't bad.
Yeah, no, I'm talking about that though.
I didn't know how. Like, I mean, I didn't mind the war arc that much. I mean, I will say they focused on some battles a couple too much.
Basically, they do it better in Black Clover's manga.
Okay, that's good. That's very good. Well, also, like, they've also personalized every minor character. Like, every minor character got a little bit of character development in Black Clover. Let's be completely frank.
Oh yeah, it's a very fast-paced shooting.
But even then, like every like both Naruto, Black Clover, and every other one of those shonen animes did character developments, especially for their female characters, significantly better than Dragon Ball Z does.
Well, yeah, Black Clover especially because Noelle. A lot of people make a joke about it, but she's basically Sakura done right.
That's fair. She has her practical uses. Yeah, that's true.
I like her as a character. But anyway, anything else?
That's interesting. So I know you're probably not happy about this, but I hope you do know that I've just refused point blank to ever engage with Goblin Slayer.
That is fair. I do not blame you, but however, it is like the only complaint I have about it is, and I didn't read it because I started to, but then it got a little too heavy for me, and I have a little bit of a limit with this kind of stuff. The manga got a little too heavy for me, so I stopped reading it. However, I don't mind the anime. I just wish they didn't switch things around the way they did.
Why did they set for censoring purposes, or did they fundamentally change the story element?
So there are 2 arcs that were completely switched. Apparently, again, I did not get this far, but and it kind of for like anime onlys, they didn't really get a chance to see Goblin Slayer's progression fully because it did skip over a lot of stuff. I actually had to explain this to an anime only Goblin Slayer fan again yesterday, and I was just like, no, it's just that they switched these 2 arcs. The one that happened before the last arc was supposed to happen after the last arc, and it was So, and I explained it to him. But yeah, I do not blame people for not wanting to see it. They're right, but I wouldn't don't ruin the dark fantasy for the dark fantasy fans.
I get that.
Listen, you have your happy-go-lucky Sword Art Online. Don't ruin fucking
right. But Sword Art Online was trash after.
Sword Art Online is only trash because of Kirito. I'm just saying.
If I like the abridged version of your anime itself, you've got a problem. Prime example: Dragon Ball Z abridged by Team Four Star. I have never seen a single episode. I've only seen that's a lie. I've seen a couple, like a handful, like a tiny handful of Dragon Ball Z episodes. But here's how I got to Super. Yeah. Dragon Ball Super, and I haven't finished watching it because I stopped watching after they smited Goku Black. And that's when I stopped watching. I watched Dragon Ball earlier in my life when I was like 13, from beginning to end, just because I knew like if I was going to get to Dragon Ball Z, I would want to watch Dragon Ball first because it gives a lot of context, and it kind of explains why Goku is a god among men from the jump. But that being said, I just watched Dragon Ball Z abridged from the beginning to until the end of it, and when they killed Cell at the end of the Cell saga, the #Cell games.
Yeah.
And then I decided, all right, Super's out. Let me watch that. What's between that? It's the Boo saga. So then I basically watch the first bit of up until like when they go to fight Babidi. And then Boo comes out. I watch, and then I watch all the way up until like a point where it's like, okay, I'm gonna start skipping episodes because this is too damn long. And I read the summary of each episode until there's one where there's a significant plot point, which is like every 3 episodes. And so I end up watching every 3 episodes, and that's how I get to like the end. From there, I subscribe to Verve and I just watch Dragon Ball Super, and it's okay. It's fine.
I was a fan of Dragon Ball Z, not so much, and Super, I don't know, just...
I'll make no mistake, I loved Dragon Ball. I loved character. slower and it is more meaningful. And like the way they ended it, of like people love to bitch about how like Chi-Chi doesn't have any development. I'm like, she had all her development in Dragon Ball.
Yeah.
Like they had the entire last season was her and her husband trying to like save their dad's castle so she could have her wedding dress to get married. It's lovely, you know. It was stupid. It was like silly a lot of the things, but it was cute, you know. And it makes you wonder. And here's the interesting thing: Goku's antics of being a shitty father is a lot more come off a lot more tolerable and acceptable when you're watching the subbed version of the anime.
Yeah.
Because he sounds like a child, because he sounds like a fucking child. But when you listen to the English dub, he sounds like a grown man, and you're just like, grow the fuck up and man the fuck up and raise your kids.
And I know a lot of people are going to say, well, for Dragon Ball, like, you know, Naruto and stuff. It's like, I'm not saying Dragon Ball is bad. I'm just saying that I was not into Z, and I was not into Super. I was just into Dragon Ball.
I agree.
Yeah.
You know, it's just from a storytelling pacing standpoint, it has significantly less plot holes than Z and especially Super.
Well, it's not even that. It's just
that and Bulma's a more relevant character than Vegeta's breeding sow.
Well, it's more so that Dragon Ball's story was just better. Dragon Ball Z, I don't even think had it. It was
I agree. It was just fighting and less. There's no character development outside of maybe some beginning when they introduce a new character. Yeah, Gohan, yeah. I mean, and Videl and the Buu saga, at least in the beginning.
Yeah.
You know,
Piccolo had some as well. But,
right. You mean Gohan's? You mean Gohan's stepdad?
No, Gohan's real dad.
No, he's a stepdad. Because real dads can be a dad, and you can be a dad and not give a shit. You have to want to be a stepdad.
I don't know if you ever see the SSJ parodies of Dragon Ball, but like it's always like fucking Piccolo saying, "Yeah, that's my son."
Oh man, it's like,
yeah. It's not, like I said, not a huge Dragon Ball Z fan, just because like the fighting is cool and all, but I need to like feel something with the fighting. And
right, and Naruto kind of did that semi decently at times. It was certainly significantly more sparse than I would have liked. But
you see what Naruto did right with fights was you got the backstory of that fight. That's what those flashbacks were. And you know, a lot of people will say, you know, that's just filler, you know, it's shit. But honestly, I did enjoy that because you got to see the history of this fight.
Yeah. You know, I mean like I knew Naruto was going to be something special after the Wave arc.
Yeah.
You know, it's like it's seeing Zabuza and Haruhi. I mean, like to this day, those two characters still have a place in the heart of people who love the Naruto franchise. I mean, that being said, it was also a canon story. Like, how many like filler villains are just forgettable?
Yeah, and you know, Naruto Part 1 was amazing. Naruto Shippuden, that was
honestly, it was just a lot. It ran into you. Dragon Ball Z did, where they were just going further. They were just going faster than the manga was being written. You know, it's the same problem with Game of Thrones had. It's like when you go out, like when you stray from the canon and like do. It's rough, you know. Yeah. I mean, I don't know about you, but it's like some of the filler in Part 1 was not bad. You know, it's like some of it was obviously like some of it wasn't great, but some of it was genuinely enjoyable. You know, I mean, there were a couple key things in Shippuden where it was just pure slice of life that was likable, but like they definitely did combat scenes much better in the canon episodes rather than the filler. That and the war arc in the anime was just longer than anybody. It was just so much filler in there. It was just not justified in the slightest.
Yeah, it wasn't. It was
Like
literally
they were milking that cow for like. The manga ended in April of 2015. I was still in high school when that manga ended, and I remember reading the last chapter with my friends on the bus on our way home from school.
I had graduated the year before.
Yeah, that anime ended what, last year?
No, the anime. No, I don't think so. I think it was.
I think it ended in April of 2017.
Yes.
Yeah, that's 2 years after the manga ended. So my question is, how much fucking filler? But yeah, moving on. So I don't know if you know this, but me and Anthony have started playing Yu-Gi-Oh together again.
Fucking Yu-Gi-Oh. You know what? I stopped because I couldn't keep track of all the fucking roles anymore. Like, it's just so fucking much.
Honestly, I play with the old, like the archetype I played with got a bunch of new support, and I just play that archetype. It ain't the best archetype in the world.
It's not that. It's just that, back in the day, it was like, okay,
you had two. You basically had two versions of two types of monsters: extra deck monsters, or not even extra deck, just ritual monsters and fusion monsters. That's it.
Yeah, you'd sacrifice to summon, or you choose to summon, and then it's like now you have synchro summon and all this other shit.
And I will acknowledge that the synchro bit and the Xyz bit are easier to understand than pendulum than the the tuner thing makes sense because it's basically contact fusion but with levels. It's kind of like it's what Gladiator Beasts were, where it's like you need one tuner and you need a non-tuner monster, and their levels got to equal the synchro you want. That to me that to me doesn't sound too complicated. Xyz monsters are you basically equip monsters with X number of monsters with the same level to this monster, and then it can activate effects by sending those equipped monsters to the graveyard. That makes sense. Pendulums don't make any fucking sense. I do not know how they work. I have never understood how they work, and I don't think I ever will understand how they work. Links make a little bit of sense because with the changes to the rules, you can only have one extra deck monster out on the field at a time, with the exception of links. You can basically put a link monster in a multitude of different places, and they have little arrows on them that point up, down, left, right, diagonal to different card zones.
Yeah, but for me, like I said, it just got a little too much for me, and I don't know. I'm just not into the Yu-Gi-Oh cards as I used to be.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not either. I got the side and school. What ends up happening is he either washes me in like the first turn or two, or then I basically or I lock down everything so he's not able to do anything, and then basically whittle away at his life points over 3 to 4 turns, or it's a 12 to 20 turn brick fest, and we end up like either losing by then one of us ends up like losing because the amount of cards in our deck ran out.
Yeah. I don't know. I have to watch one of your guys' match.
Well, we'll probably do it once, like in the deck.
All right, then. Cool.
Yeah, it's fun. It is. So I don't. So have I already asked you about the bring back the national decks shit?
I don't think so.
You know what I'm talking about, right?
No, I do not. I haven't played Yu-Gi-Oh since like elementary school.
This is Pokemon.
Oh, Pokemon. Okay, never mind.
All right. So Game Freak is not. So here, what a lot of people don't understand with this controversy is yes, there's no national dex, but that's not the problem here that people should really be mad about. The last games that came out, Pokemon Sun and Pokemon Moon, and Sun Ultra Moon, they didn't have national dexes either. You know, those were in Pokebank. You know, like so you could read all the different stuff. Just fine. It's fine. Here's the issue, though. The difference between Sword and Shield and every Pokemon main series Pokemon game that's come before it is they are not even coding in Pokemon.
Oh, I know what you're talking about. It's just that you can't carry over some Pokemon.
Right. So unlike every single game in the past, you will not be able to bring over Pokemon before or after and put them into this game. If it's not in the Galar region Pokedex, it won't even render in the game.
This sounds like these Pokemon games are starting to be yearly, right?
Which I'm quite frankly against.
It sounds like they're just starting to just refuse to put in the code, or they might possibly put them as DLC.
Right. But with the amount of animations, models, move anime, like they are reusing a lot, and I think part of the reason why they're doing is that they think that they'll have to add Dynamax models for all the Pokemon.
I'm starting to also think it's just because like there's just so many Pokemon now.
No. Listen, no. So you know what this new Dynamax thing is, right?
I don't play Pokemon games.
All right. So they're having the new gimmick for these games is Dynamax, which is basically Godzilla battles with Pokemon. Your Pokemon get giant and they fight each other.
The fuck?
Yeah. So first it was Digimon, then it was Kamehamehas and shit, special moves, and now it's Godzilla. You know what? That's cool. That is fine. You know how you can add? You know what you could do to like not have to do a Dynamax form on every single thing?
What?
Pokemon that are not in the Galar region Pokédex are not able to Dynamax. They're not able to get big. There's your fucking answer. You know, like, but you know, and I'm like, but in the reason then somebody get from like, well, we wouldn't want to do that. We would want to make it so all the Pokemon were able to Dynamax. I'm like, hey, jackass, the backlash from that would be significantly smaller than from not coding in all the Pokemon in there. You know, if your assets that you're using are already low res, which looking at screenshots, they aren't great textures anyways. You're reusing a lot of material. There is zero reason for you for you to be doing this. And I know that they brought up that option in committee, but they still decided not to do it, which just astounds me. I would be if I wasn't able to use a Rayquaza in Dynamax Rayquaza, I'd be bummed. Make no mistake. But I wouldn't be seething mad like I am with them not even coding them in. And they said they're not even going to release a patch later to put them all in.
I think what this comes down to is just that, as you said, they're coming out, the Pokemon games, the Pokemon are coming out in shitty textures, correct?
Say that one more time.
The Pokemon are coming out low-res and shitty textured, correct?
Not necessarily the Pokemon, but all the other, like a lot of the other models. That and and there's also like some lazy design, like Wingles, like the Pokemon from the 3rd gen, like the Seagull Pokemon. Like it's when it's rendered in the world, it's just its arms are straight. It doesn't have any flapping or dynamic wings or anything. It's just a straight model. That's hovering.
It sounds like to me that they have so much they have to code in now that they're not given enough time with the year.
Right, which part of me is wondering why they're.
You cut off.
Oh, sorry. Where part of me is wondering why on earth they're even doing a yearly release in the first place. Like, I had zero problem waiting 2 years for my next Pokemon game because I could get a year and a half out of a good Pokemon game with some decent gimmicks and a lot to do. Especially with this game. They're adding raid battles you can do with your friends.
I can answer this question easily.
Go ahead.
Why does any title do yearly releases? Because it's popular and they get the fucking money.
And they're ever since Nintendo got a taste of that sweet microtransaction monetization from Pokemon Go, I would not be surprised if they're just like, oh, y'all got to make more money to be relevant to us.
Yeah, but here's the thing, though. Sorry. With Pokemon, here's the thing. The fan base has been loyal to it for so long. I don't think that there is... Like, yes, there's backlash, but people are still going to buy the games no matter what, because it has such a long, loyal fan base. I mean, you ask anyone who isn't even in the anime will fucking tell you they grew up watching Pokemon.
Well, Pokemon dominated the late 90s, early...
Yeah.
I mean, like, if you got a Game Boy, you got a Pokemon game.
Oh, yeah.
Whether it's a Game Boy Color, or a Game Boy Advance. I know that my first Pokemon game was Pokemon Sapphire. And I mean, I have a copy of Pokemon Emerald with a Game Boy Micro sitting in my apartment right the fuck now. And I play it when I'm just stressed or tired or I just want to calm down and I just need simplicity.
Yeah. So the Pokemon company doesn't really need to worry, because it's just like with any fan base. It's just like until that fan base actually starts getting into an uprise about it more and more, they're not gonna...
But here's the thing, though. If we get pissed at what Game Freak did, Game Freak is going to be the one to take the hit. Because we can, like, if we bitch, and then vote with our wallet, I would want them to fix this now. Because if we vote with our wallet, which we should, but this would be the case where it's like, Nintendo and Creatures Inc. are going to be like, okay, these guys dropped the ball on the last game. We're going to start pushing Go and Pokemon Go and Pokemon Masters harder because they obviously aren't able to deliver anymore. Because the thing that just astounds me is so many people like yes, there are the casual the casual audience that's going to just buy this game regardless because it's the new Pokemon game. But you can't ignore your hardcore fan base, everything they want, like they say about it, and expect it to go right. I mean, let's be real. Ask Battlefield, the Battlefront community. Ask the Call of Duty community.
Ask the Battlefield, that too. Ask the
BioWare fanboys.
You can ask
Anthony, he's like the diehard Sonic fan. If you shit on your loyal players for long enough, that loyalty is going to go away. And I mean, they still have a significant amount of loyalty from us. But honestly, I'm going to buy Sword and Shield pretty damn near day one. I'm not afraid to admit it. But if they burn us again like this badly again, whether it's not coding the Pokemon in again or something completely different.
Well, this is why I'm very hesitant when it comes to Bethesda's upcoming titles.
Right. I'm a Bethesda fanboy my damn self, but I proved 6 and look at that guy. Like, if I didn't pre-order it, I could have bought it the same week for a $35 discount. I like the game now. It's pleasantly fun. I'm not playing it until they fix the bugs with the last update. I don't know what the bugs have been. But, I mean, looking at the things that they've put in so far and looking at the content that's coming up, I'm genuinely excited about what this game's going to become come October when Wastelanders drop in NPCs and meaningful stories and quite frankly, a much better conversation system is implemented in comparison to what was in Fallout 4. I'm excited, but the launch of Fallout 76 has effectively made me refuse. Like, I would have pre-ordered Sword and Shield by now. I'm not pre-ordering it. I don't care what bonuses. Like the only way they could incentivize me to get to pre-order is it, like Sword and Shield as it is now is basically, oh, we give you every every mythical Pokemon and every event Pokemon from the last 2-3 years. You know?
Yeah, and what it comes down to is it's also very heartbreaking. Like, I'm gonna bring up Mass Effect, the Mass Effect series.
I can only imagine how much you're hurting.
Oh, how much am I hurting?
I can only imagine. Go ahead and tell you. Like like you said at the beginning, Ty is a die-hard BioWare fanboy, and Mass Effect in particular is one of his most passionate things, and especially after Andromeda. Like, I'm just going to let you take it away.
Okay, well, yeah, Mass Effect played a huge part in me. I wouldn't have gotten into writing. I wouldn't have, there is, and I know it sounds cliche as fuck, but I wouldn't have gotten. I honestly, like, you won't go from these amazing, like, just about everyone in the cast, except maybe 2 characters, we're so 3-dimensional, we're so amazing, we're so real. Like, growing up as someone who, was very antisocial, you felt like you actually had a crew to come back to,
Right.
and people to talk to, and, and stuff like that. It felt, it gave me hope and stuff. And, I got to live this fantasy of being this, badass military commander. Something I found out later in life I could never do because of my ADHD and stuff. I was told, I don't meet the 2% requirement to join the military. So,
Right.
that happens. And, so I got to live this fantasy. And, when Andromeda was announced, I defended it until, like, it came out.
It came out, yeah. I mean, I did the same thing with 76. I will admit, I was a fanboy.
Yeah,
and,
but
and it hurts, and it just hurts because it makes you stick your foot in your mouth,
Yeah, and I'm gonna continue. But basically, what happened with Andromeda was I pre-ordered. It was the last pre-order I would ever make because, and like even after the game came out, because there were some things about it that were good. I'm not gonna lie, there were a few things. It definitely caught the wow factor of discovering a new galaxy. However, and I still defended it even though all the problems, because I wanted it to be successful because I did enjoy the game. However, after the 3rd playthrough, I realized like the writing was shit. After the fanboy pass, I realized the writing was shit. I realized the facial animations were an actual problem. And then for EA to just kill that studio, not add the DLC that was promised, I was just like, okay, so you guys could have completely saved this series if you just did the DLC. You could have saved it. Because here's the thing. One of the most popular races within Mass Effect was the Quarians. There was apparently rumors of plans for a Quarian deal. Well, it was hinted for a Quarian DLC for us to find the Quarians. You could have saved the fucking game by doing, like, fixing the facial animations, which they did. You could have done that, and you could have brought in the Quarians. People would have been happy about that, because that's the race people love. Talizora was fucking one of the greatest characters of Mass Effect, because you got to see her grow through all 3 games. Same with Garrus Vakarian. You got to see these 2 characters, who stuck by you for 3 games through multiple suicide missions. And it's like, I felt like they could have saved the game with that Quarian DLC. But they just cut it off. And it was heartbreaking because it's just like, well, we're going to shelve this series now. So
because it costed too fucking much. Because it been
yes,
cost to fix our.
Here's the thing, though. EA didn't realize how much of a a gold mine they had. As in Dragon Age 2, like they have a gold mine with Mass Effect and Dragon Age, and they just mess it up. Like, this is like the worst business practice you could possibly do. You have a series that before it was The Witcher, like Mass Effect was The Witcher of its time.
Yeah. I agree.
Yeah.
And it's just I have a feeling that over the next 10 years the AAA market is going to take a dive and the indie game market is going to thrive heavily.
Oh no, I've made this prediction a year ago, and I even told you this. What's going to happen is the AAA market's going to crash, and we're going to go back to small developers.
Right, and we're gonna have to start all over again. Activision and EA are going to implode because they don't because
it's already happening. Telltale,
right.
Look at it.
Well, Telltale also had to show. Well, basically, the people who own Telltale basically had a lot of financial problems of their own, and they basically had to pick one of their studios is to saddle that debt with and let it implode.
Yeah,
I mean, and the problem with that is something like Tales from the Borderlands is canon. First off, I think Telltale deserved to die. Unpopular opinion. Why? Because they fucking killed Scooter in Tales from the Borderlands. What fucking right do you have, Telltale, to kill like Scooter from Borderlands? Go to hell. I didn't know he died. I never played the games. I had no idea until I played the DLC that 2K released for Borderlands 2, Commander Lilith and the Fight for Sanctuary, where I had to put on Scooter's memorial, and I didn't even know he died.
Yeah, but
Telltale deserved to die for that one. I don't care what anybody says.
I gotta bring up a point I did miss in my little rant there.
Before you do, mind if we take a quick break for commercial?
Yeah, that's fine.
See you in about 30 seconds, y'all. If I can find the thing to... Oh, there it is. Yoink! And we're back from our brief break. The loo has been visited. Drinks have been consumed, food has been nourished, and all that manner of mess. So before we left, you said that there was one other point on the topic of Mass Effect Andromeda and just bad business practices in general. What was that point?
Well, it was the start of the downfall, basically, and I got a feeling a lot of people noticed this with the trouble child of the trilogy, which was 3.
Well, I mean, even I'm not a Mass controversy of the 3 colored endings.
Yes, I think that's when. I think looking back on it, I actually started questioning. I'm just like, oh man, that should have been assigned, and yeah. I felt like if there were any Mass Effect fans listening, they would bring up the fact I forgot about that, and no, I have not, because to this day, I still despise the ending.
Well, even with the DLC fixing it?
Yes. I felt like...
It was a lazy cop-out?
I felt like Shepard wasn't the type of character where the only option you had was for him to die. That's more like for... Say, like Guts from Berserk. That's a character, the only end that you.
He has nothing left to lose.
Yes, exactly.
That makes sense. Right. So we've talked on your knowledge of MMOs. We've talked on anime. So I remember earlier you said that that Mass Effect as a story inspired you to write.
Yes.
And just for everybody knowing, Ty has developed quite the impressive mythos in his own world and all that. I'm not going into details. I am not going to say anything, but it is being worked on and is quite the interesting read. Speaking of which, how is that going, by the way?
Well, given there's been a lot going on at home, managing the guild and stuff, I really haven't had time to write. My job is very heavy on my psyche, which is why I've been trying to find a new one.
Fair enough.
Yes.
I don't know if you'd be interested in this, but I don't know. How interested would you be in writing a small little short story that you could publish? Just to get started. Something like take some time. Think about like a small little story you could tell of a boy of a boy or a girl in a village, and of just some of them having to in like one of your established lands, and then basically having them like have to deal with something on a more local level, but establishing it as this everything in this world feels normal. This is just the story in this world.
That is the plan I had. Basically, what the plan is once I get
and when I say short story, I mean a smooth 30 pages, no more than that.
This is basically what's going on. There's going to be the main series that I want to finish. Not series, the first issue of the series I want to get done, and then I'm going to do that to kind of test the waters a little.
Yeah, and let's be real. Short stories, especially when you're introducing a new mythos, is a much better way to introduce people to the world than, say, J.R.R. Tolkien's Lord of the Rings is a very, very it is an anomaly when it comes to a mythos and not the normal. People like Lord Dunsany, H.P. Lovecraft. What was the guy's name who wrote Conan the Barbarian?
I can't remember off the top of my head.
Neither can I. But all these guys who created self-contained mythos in their world, certainly they put out short stories testing the waters and things like Astounding Stories, Amazing Tales, Weird Tales, things like that. You know, I'm glad. Like, I remember you were hesitant about 6 months ago when I was pushing you to take the short story angle. I'm really glad that you're reconsidering that. You know.
Well, yes, because I do want to do the short stories because it will involve the setting up of the main story, basically. This is just like, I'm going to test the waters. It's going to introduce people into the world. But the thing is...
And it would also allow you to tell stories within the world itself that might not be a part of the story, yes, but it'll allow people to, like, ingratiate themselves into this universe you've built.
Well,
if I may, is it psychological fantasy, dark fantasy? Your run of the mill? What kind? I know it's fantasy, but in what vein of fantasy?
It is going to be a light dark fantasy, I should say. It's not going to be like it won't be as dark as, say, like Berserk, but it'll
straddle the line.
It will. I have the entire series in my head right now. There are some scenes that I'm not going to get into that someone may consider it a little dark, but that's just for character progression and stuff.
Right, but freaking Goblin Slayer is in the
yeah.
So is Berserk.
It's that type of subject is more like a lot of people use it for shock factor and stuff. I'm using it for character progression for these characters because at the end of the day, even though this is a fantasy, you need to have a little bit of reality within fantasy. Things aren't going to work out, and a lot of the some of the characters that I've created over the year that I've been working on this, 1 year to 2 years, creating characters and stuff like that, in the mythos. That not everyone has an ending, a good ending. and a lot of the characters are not going to survive what happens because
Which
at
sounds
the
like
end
a
of the
breath of
day,
fresh air.
yeah,
Compared to
because at the end of the day, yeah, you have character arcs, but not everyone's going to experience fully their arc. They're not going to have the chance to do certain things or complete their wishes and dreams because that's just how life is, and it's dark to say and sad, but I want I want this story to basically be that, to show people that, hey, you may not be able to achieve your dream, but you can still you can at least try to, but it may not work out. So
that's
like,
life.
yeah, and that's life. And there's it's a lot like with Mass Effect. I'm going back to Mass Effect again. Fuck me. Um, but
Fine.
you look at Mordin Solus. He ended up getting a closure to his arc, but the only way for him to close his arc was to kill himself. Basically, it was the only way to make up for a sin he committed. He basically had to sacrifice himself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What do you have? What if you did in the reason? And I'm saying this not because you should do it. I'm trying to help you get the creative juices flowing. What if since it's a dark fantasy, what if you did a story of, say, pick one of your created races, and it's a young boy from that race is in a small village in a town, and then he basically he meets a woman, probably a woman a little older, or you can make the genders whatever you want. But I'm just basically, it's a story of how of someone trying to do a good deed basically leads his village to ruin. The chick or the man, if it's or just fuck gender roles or whatever, however you want to do it, whether you want a man, a woman, who cares? Basically goes back to the commander, and the commander says, she was a soldier from a neighboring army that was invading unbeknownst to the village and the nation in general, and they basically steamroll over the thing and just pillage, and it's awful and all those different things. And the ending scene is like the protagonist who helped basically watching everything he's ever known and cared about being burned, and the person he helped say I'm sorry and walking off.
It's something like that. I'm not going to get into details, but it's going to involve the short story because I already have that planned out too.
Let me know, man, because I can publish. Remember, I can publish.
Yeah, it's going to involve basically a character that's connected to the main character of the series, the main lead of the series, and a character that's connected to the main female lead of the series.
Right.
Yes, because I feel like it in a way it will be poetic in a way.
I mean, I agree. It certainly will be, and
not to toot my own horn here.
Well, I mean, I've read. I haven't read any of your short stories or your readings, but I have read your framework for the world, and it's something that as long as it's written well, I would definitely get lost in, without a doubt.
And that's just like the notes. That's not like the full thing either.
Right,
It's just me putting down notes because I feel like what a lot of people and go back to Naruto for this. Sorry, I was reading something someone said to me. Is that a lot of the times, a lot of people will not write write their lore inconsistently. Bethesda, Dragon Breaks,
I mean, Dragon Breaks are just awfully convenient.
Yeah, but still,
I will admit, I like how they actively tried to prevent it in Somerset, and they said they didn't make it seem like an awfully convenient thing.
Yeah, but I want this to remain consistent. I want the lore to remain consistent. I don't want to change things just for plot reasons. and stuff like that. That's why I wrote all that lore down and spent a year crafting it, because I wanted to make sure I was happy with it before I started writing.
And you should be. It's certainly,
because there have been multiple times when I have tried to attempt this, and then I was just not happy at the end of the day with it.
right. But you also the other thing is,
You cut out.
sorry. The other thing is you're not letting your family get into.
Again, cut out.
Oh, don't I just love this new headset? Oy. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
All right. So what I said was is you're also not letting your family get into your head this time around.
What do you mean by that?
Well, I remember. Well, like you said, your home life hasn't been the most supportive, and I also remember you telling me how have certain people in your family have not been the most supportive in your creative ventures. You know, you're just saying fuck all to the world at this point. I'm going to do this for me. You know,
I'm not really gonna jump into that.
I'm just stating it for the for conversation's sake to continue. You know, it just brings me a certain level of happiness to see a good friend of mine, just ignoring criticisms and just doing it and just seeing to see if it works.
I was once told by another writer that who cares if it's a big hit. They said, I've had people come up to me and say, hey, what you wrote actually spoke to me and actually helped me with my life, and that's what I want to do. That's all I care about.
Yeah. And it should be, because you've consumed enough media that you can tell what is the right thing to do when writing and what is the wrong thing to do. You know, and dark fantasy is already a very niche genre that is probably starved for good content.
There's a few genres that is dark fantasy. There's actually a lot of that out there. It just doesn't get a lot of attention because of.
Or let's be clear, it doesn't get a lot of mainstream.
Yes, because of certain subjects are within dark fantasy. There's a lot of amazing dark fantasy series out there, but there's just that it has a stigma to it.
Right.
Yes. There's also a genre that looks like it might be making a resurgence, and I hope it is, because honestly, the world needs this genre more than ever, and it is cyberpunk, because cyberpunk is the most realistic scenario to the world in the world of sci-fi, because it deals with a lot of issues that the world is going through now, and that it will continue to go through, and it will get to that point. Anyone who knows a cyberpunk universe knows that it is controlled by mega corporations. It is very corrupt. It is very dystopian, and that is where we're most likely heading. And it is the most realistic depiction of the future.
That or Fallout.
Fallout, yeah, but I honestly think it's most likely going to be a cyberpunk dystopia, if I'm going to be honest.
Yeah. And I mean, it's already starting to look that a couple different situations, but aside from that, what are your thoughts on Cyberpunk 77?
You know what? They're doing everything right.
Well, I mean, the author has been side by.
He has, and the man has come under, and I don't partake in this argument anymore because honestly, I've been in that environment. It's so toxic on both sides of the SJW versus anti-SJW argument.
I think a little bit of SJW. Sorry, what I said is a little bit of SGW stuff is fine because it's needed. It's how society progresses in a much more accepting and loving manner. The problem is when everything's fine and normal and nobody's doing anything wrong, no companies are firing people for no reason, people aren't being ignorant for being ignorant's sake, making up shit out of nowhere, like just to be mad about is it's annoying, I mean, just for the record to anybody listening, me and Tyler are scummy fucking liberals. We believe we don't like our current president. I mean, but at the same time, we both are very pragmatic. Like, we can both acknowledge that the president had out of the a lot of bad that we believe he's done. I will admit there are a couple things he's done that are good. I'm a total for gay rights, for racial rights, all these different things. But if you've listened to our podcast, my podcast so far, I am not a PC person by any means, and neither is Tyler. We cuss, we make edgy jokes, we say things that if we're put on the front of Twitter, we would be shut down into oblivion by people who we completely agree with from a political standpoint. But this politically correct bullshit is going to be the downfall of liberalism. I firmly believe that. Wanting things like healthcare as a right, wanting things like universal basic income, like improving the standing of our nation's poor people are valiant goals, but it's being washed away under people just fighting over trivial bullshit that's just doesn't matter.
I think because I think it was 3 weeks ago, David Pakman actually had a video of basically showing someone who is that loud minority of the left, and
it's routinely that loud minority. I'm on all the. I have plenty of people who are conservative that I'm either friends or friendly with. In fact, my older brother, who's going to be on the podcast later this week, who's a man who was my first friend when I came to Wilmington 11 years ago. He has been like an older brother to me from day one. We had a bond around RTS strategy games and Call of Duty and talking and roughhousing and having fun being boys. Our politics went in completely separate directions. Our lives went in completely separate directions, but the bond of brotherhood is still there. He's a Marine. I'm a businessman. We are on opposite edges of the spectrum politically. But I went out to the bar with him yesterday. I bought him some beers. My brother's home from his tour. It was great seeing him, and we talked about politics, but it didn't get heated. It didn't get mad. We still care about it. Like the notion of you can't be friends with somebody who thinks different from you is absurd to me. And yet and just for the record, he's a conservative he isn't a racist person. He isn't trying to take rights away from people. It's he's not one of those. He's not like a Jim Jordan or someone who thinks that putting people's rights in the law on a level playing field is wrong. He thinks he's just somebody who's dissatisfied with the politically correct notions of today, which I quite frankly agree with. Freedom of speech is freedom of speech.
I'm gonna get us back on topic here.
Yeah.
But what I was saying is there, and this is how we got here. There's problems on both sides of this spectrum, and the reason why I brought up the SJW and anti-SJW thing is because there's problems on both sides of the spectrum here because so I'm going to give an example of both. The most recent problem that came from the debacle that they're trying to cause with Cyberpunk 2077 was there is a Haitian gang featured in the closed
I heard about all this too. Go ahead.
Okay. So basically it was a gang of just Haitian people. And the character was white. The player character was white. And they're shooting at him.
This is one of those cases where context is fucking key.
Yeah, context is key. Anyway, so of course, on one side, people are like for this side, people are freaking the fuck out, saying like, "Oh, this is racist." But the guy who created the tabletop Cyberpunk 2077 is actually African American, and he actually showed this to Haitians, and they were happy because their culture was being fucking
represented. Like they went the entire mile, recorded Haitian voice actors and using local slang and stuff like that, in which is just like representation is representation. It doesn't. And especially when you add context to how to that hate to the Voodoo Boys, like which was the name of the gang. So add that. Say that. If I'm sure you are about to go into that, so go ahead.
Okay. So, and on the other side of the spectrum, and I listen to a lot of game journalists. I think only one actually covered this one. So, all the other ones who always harp on, the SJWs and stuff, didn't even talk about this, and wonder why. But anyway, basically there's the other side, which was talking about how it is being forced. It's not even being forced. It's basically okay. So you can actually have a transgender character within Cyberpunk 2077. You can have a male character with a female voice.
Mm-hmm.
They're doing this the right way. They're not forcing it onto you. This is Cyberpunk. Body modification is a big part of that.
Right. And I bet you every dollar I got there.
Yeah, and they were saying
coded restrictions for male and female shit. Yeah.
Yeah, and they were saying that, and there are no restrictions.
Right.
But anyway, it wasn't as big as a debacle, but it did slide in there. I did hear about this. I can't remember who covered it. I think it was Young Ya or something. But it was, or maybe it was Legacy Killer. I can't remember. But
I like Young Ya. Like Legacy Killer HD is a little too cocky for my taste. Same thing with Upper Echelon Gaming. Their personalities rub me the wrong way.
Yeah, but anyway, so this happened. It was barely covered. I don't understand why, because this is the other side. So like, you have people like a certain, and I'm not going to name off names here, but there's a certain fucking YouTuber that really bothers me. He's all about this free speech shit, but he won't criticize the other side. He won't criticize his side.
Jim Sterling?
Nope.
I was about to say,
here, I'll send you in Discord.
Just say it. It's fine.
Can you bleep it out?
Nah, just send it to me. It's just more work for me to do later.
Okay. Because I really don't want to start shit. I don't want you to have shit started with you. So, yeah. It is.
But just go to your point. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's like there's both sides. There's shit going on. Yet they're trying their best to ruin a good game. Like
well, they've also shit on Epic, and I feel like Epic has more of a stranglehold capitalism side of things than most would like to believe, and since CD Projekt Red is one of those companies that has delivered. I don't like him neither. I don't. He's a jackass. But basically, what I was saying is it's they. I feel like every company that has dissed like Epic's way of doing things has come under some kind of scrutiny or fire. And it could be coincidence because let's be real, CD Projekt Red does not have a golden PR track record. They have a history of abusing their workers and long overtime hours and things like that. But at the same time, that's standard across the industry.
But they're at least making commitments to change that.
Right. They're like aside from maybe Valve, but even then, like CD Projekt Red has and their parent company are certainly more pro-consumer, are probably the most pro-consumer companies in the gaming industry, with like Steam as a second.
They're very pro-consumer. You look at the hold on. You look at the standard pre-order edition of Cyberpunk 2077. You're getting that is equivalent to a deluxe version of any other game. Equivalent. A standard edition. Equivalent to a deluxe edition. Are you there, Evan?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay. But so you see, and that's they're very consumer friendly.
Right. Well, I mean, and let's talk about GOG. Like, let's be good old games. It's like Steam doesn't even do like if it costs like think about Australia, who has to pay $90 for a new game.
Yeah.
If they wanted to go out and get 3 games that tied them over for a few months, they would have to pay basically the same amount for a Nintendo Switch. And that's the industry standard over there, But if it's $40 over here, it's $40 over there. $40 in whatever currency you want, And I mean, Steam, I don't even think does that.
I don't think they do. I don't know.
Yeah, and Steam, and I mean, and you know what Steam does that I think is pretty cool as well. It's like Steam and GOG, like GOG Galaxy 2 that's coming out as basically like a better version of Launchbox.
Yeah.
It's amazing. It's objectively excellent. I mean, and with Steam you can play your Linux games, you can play your Windows game on Linux, and they do it retroactively, so you don't even have to go in. So the developers don't have to go in and put extra dev time. It's like, and then I see Epic, and it's just, oh, we help the developers. If you help the developers, you help the consumer. And I'm like, when was the last time? When was the last time a big publisher and developer did something for gamers that was for consumers that was positive outside of trying to sell them a game?
Here's the thing with Epic. One, the Epic Store has been, and here's the thing: Epic was one of the people it was one of the parties that defended loot boxes in the UK recently. All right, That's one thing. Another thing is, there's of course the fact that they are owned by partly owned by a certain company. I think that's located in China.
Yeah, I'd be damned if Pooh Bear, the president of China, is going to get my information. Fuck you.
Yeah, there's that. And I think there was even shown to be spyware within the Epic's program.
Yeah. And of course they're going to lie and say they...
Yeah, it is a very primitive... it's basically like... and a lot of people were saying, "Oh, but this is equivalent to what Steam was back when Steam first started." Yes, but here's the thing: technology has advanced so much. You think they come out with a better store than that? I mean, come on. Like, yes, Steam came out not the best, but here's the thing: is that they could look at Steam and be like, "Oh, these are features we could use." They didn't use them though. So here's the problem. They went cheap on it, obviously. It's no different than I mean, the only difference is the download is free, but it's no different than what's that term EA used for like Anthem?
Surprise mechanics?
Not surprise mechanics. It was
also great.
It was gas game as a service.
Yeah, I'd love to light that to gas fire.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just like the problem with games as a service is when like you basically have to run your entire company around it because that's your only means of generation. You want every person possible playing it at all times, and if they aren't, you're losing money. That's just the facts of the matter.
Exactly. Yeah. It's and again, you had BioWare waste resources on making a completely, and we gotta, since we're talking about games as a service, we gotta talk about fucking what BioWare did to its employees.
Yeah.
That was absolutely disgusting.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, you can bring up like the whole the CD Projekt Red thing, but that's unexcusable. People locking themselves in a room just to cry, that is not okay.
And meanwhile, Bungie is popping getting...
You cut out.
Oh, sorry. Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Yeah, and meanwhile, Bungie is popping champagne after severing ties from Activision.
Yeah. So it's
just sad.
Yeah, it is. I feel bad for the BioWare staff because
you'd be a monster if you weren't.
Yeah, because back in the day when we were growing up, it was like you wanted to be a game developer, you wanted to make that stuff, and now I told my mom like a year ago, I'm glad I did not get into gaming development.
Right, because it's. I mean, on top of there being to make money in it. It is just rough, dude. It's
so rough, and here's the thing: we're starting to see a rise in like GoFundmes and stuff like that. But
honestly, if I were to build a game, I would use it and basically like say, hey, there like you spend 15 tokens, and each one will cost each copy of the game will cost 15 tokens, and you start at as with each coin being worth $1 a piece. And it'll allow you, that will allow you to like kind of quote unquote raise stock beforehand without having to go through the GoFundMe process.
Yes,
because the Kickstarter kind of way of doing it is like it's rough because you're not able to make as many decisions in businesses because you're tied to the PR of keeping your players happy.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think Shenmue should have ever. If Shenmue
I was actually gonna bring that up.
Right, if Shenmue was developed in house, separate from the GoFundMe thing, they would have more of an argument. It's like the Kickstarter thing. I just think
that was not good. Listen, I understand Shenmue is a very popular series. I personally
but from a numbers perspective. It's not. It has every game. Everyone. Yeah. Every single one has lost money. And this one probably is going to as well.
Well, it's already losing money.
Yeah.
They're having to refund them because
if it's not even coming out of the developers' pockets. Tim Sweeney said to Epic,
But yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, with what BioWare did, BioWare is not the same it used to be. It's not the same studio that, made such great works such as Mass Effect, such as Dragon Age. And I'm I'm honestly gonna be, and I wouldn't be surprised if I'd be disappointed with Dragon Age 4. I don't want to be. I want to love Dragon Age 4 because I think what they're going, and they had such amazing premise, but then they canceled it because it couldn't be monetized. Which I'm sorry, but whatever happened to like creative freedom and stuff like that. EA has to tell them dictate whatever they do and stuff. Which I'm sorry, that's not okay because this studio could have made you a shit ton of money, but you refuse you refuse to invest the money to make the money.
Yeah. It takes money to make money. At the end of the day, what they want is GTA levels of success. GTA, they want you to be able to make 200 times the amount of money back that you put into a game. And the only way that's going to happen, even if you want to do games as a service game, is you have to put the effort in from the jump. If nobody wants to play your game from the get-go, it doesn't matter. Like I go back to Destiny. I'm not a giant Destiny fan. I like the game from a mechanical standpoint. The gunplay is tight, it feels good, it's responsive, the gameplay's excellent. But when I'm not killing shit, I'm bored. The story content is almost tolerable. It's not engaging at all. I've felt a little bit with the Forsaken expansion, but I mean when you've had crap the entire time from a story perspective, once things is finally adequate, it doesn't really wow you. And it makes me wonder. There are lots of stories about what Destiny was 1 and 2 were like before Activision said no, cut all this shit out, make it DLC, and this shit's not happening, and your animation budget's going down by this much, and sell it all back to them.
But here's the thing, if they were able to pull this off years ago, they could have gotten away with it. But here's the thing now. Our generation has grown up with technology. We understand how it works. We understand it progresses rapidly. It is a never.
Oh my god, yeah. Oh yeah, definitely.
So here's the thing.
And the saddest part is I think the sources of just bad consumerism is of just treating consumers like we're nothing, is really just 3 companies, and that's EA, it's Activision, and Epic.
Yes, but here okay. So let me continue my point.
Yeah.
I was building up to so we all understand that how fast technology evolves and stuff. So you mean to tell me you come out with a game that is basically the bare basics? You think you're really going to fool a generation of tech-savvy people?
Yeah.
Of course it was going to blow up in your face, EA. Of course it was going to blow up in your face. Because for a fact, you only did this because you want to, you want nothing more than to take the money of children's parents who don't know any better. And honestly, they actually did do. And this is absolutely
3,000.
This is the most unethical thing that what I was about to get to. And this is one of the most unethical things I've seen a business do. I think it was EA that hosted it or something. I can't remember. It was someone who did. But it was basically, they said, let's take the morality question out. and find a way to get as much money as we possibly can. I'm sorry, but I understand game developers are considered private contractors, but there really should be a union for them.
Well, it's. Have you ever watched the Amazon anti-union?
I have, but here's the thing.
It's even harder for game developers.
I know. Because they're considered technically private contractors still. But, like, we need, with the gaming industry, a workers... what was it during the early 1900s that got unions made?
Strike?
Yeah, we need a massive workers' strike for the gaming industry. And I believe if that happens, we could get unions for them, because I think that's what they need. I understand not everyone's going to like unions, but...
Well, I don't know about you, it's hot like a motherfucker out there watching the damn heat. But you know, I don't mean that. I don't genuinely mean that. What I'm saying is I agree, but somebody's got to take the initiative, and it's not going to be us gamers. Like, we can bitch all we want, but they have to grow a backbone and do it.
Oh, it's going to happen.
It's going to happen.
It's because it's starting to. Okay, so I'm going to give you an example of this. All right.
Okay.
So you can link the acceptance of video games culturally. Like, video game culture is not a subculture anymore. It is starting to become part of our culture.
And the gaming industry makes more money than movies and combined.
Yes, it is starting to become part of our culture. So let's take that, but with anime over in Japan. It was a subculture. Now it's becoming a huge part of their culture and our culture too. They're starting to I can't remember who's doing it, but I think he worked on the series, some popular series. I can't remember, but apparently they're starting to get upset over with the crazy work hours, the low pay. Sadly, and I need to bring this up because if we were talking about anime earlier, there was a studio. I can't remember the name of it. But hold on, let me find the name. Because I feel like I should mention this. It was Kyoto Animation, which actually treated their employees.
Don't even get me started.
They treated their employees like people, like human beings. They pay them well. They release like great series, treating their employees well and stuff like that. And what happens? Some arson fucking comes along saying anime is bad and fucking kills 38 of their people.
It's disgusting.
It really is. It is disgusting. And you know, I hope I feel so bad for the families. I feel so bad for people who are fans of the studio. I feel like it's like, you know, how do I say this? But you know, it's kind of where I can see where someone would think that there is a conspiracy that this dude was paid off to do this. Do you see where I'm coming from with this?
Kind of.
I'm not a huge conspiracy theorist. You know I'm not.
But why would somebody want to pay him off?
Why? Because the studio released a lot of successful anime, and they were treating their employees well. There was apparently, again, I can't remember the dude's name, but he's starting to speak out a lot against the industry.
Well, I mean, in America, we do have some labor problems when it comes to work, but Japan, we have our working conditions at least from what our jobs ask of us from a professional and personal level, pales in comparison to Japan. And I feel like you and I could get into a whole rabbit hole about Japan and just how their culture just is disgusting and awful in terms of treating people like human beings, and how they just kind of grind people into dust in the corporate environment. But I will say this: we just for people to note, we started recording at around 9:00, and our break was literally just 5 minutes. So, and it's currently 11 where we are right now. So I feel like this might be a good place for you and I to wrap up, and maybe we can record we can touch on I'll keep the Japanese culture stuff in the back of my head, that you and I can talk about it further down the line when I have you on for another podcast.
Sure. I would bring up what I would do is I would actually bring up some tabs on Japanese culture and stuff like that.
Yeah, so we can do a whole informational thing, and I could probably invite. And it may not be. While he may not be able to speak in Japanese, he could certainly speak on Chinese. Rebecca from School's friends, Charlie. His family's. He's a first generation immigrant. He was born here, but his family's from China, and they just have a lot of. He would probably be since he grew up in an Asian culture. He would have a lot to say in that regard, which would be interesting.
Yes, but okay.
On that happy little note,
I would like to add in this recording, so people don't think I'm crazy. I don't actually believe that conspiracy I just laid out. I was just giving an example of I can see why people would believe that was a conspiracy.
Yeah, and the Yakuza are. But I digress.
Yeah.
Ty, thanks for coming on. I really appreciate you for coming on, and I had a great time just talking about nerdy stuff, even though it evolved into just emotions and sadness at points.
But that's what happens when you talk to me. But yeah, let's do it again sometime.
Yeah, definitely. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for listening to this episode of the High Soapbox. See you in the next one.